game tonight?
Yeah, I thought there were positives a lot in the second half offensively. I think the main thing that continues to stand out to us as coaches is that our guys always stay in the fight. They remain very competitive and focused regardless of what the situation may be. So I'm very thankful for that. And, I feel like we got some young guys that are growing in front of us, and every time they play, they're getting better. So then obviously Isaac McBride was tremendous offensively. And, I'm not surprised with what he did, to be honest. He's that caliber of player, and carried us throughout the second half. And I wish we could have made one more run. Unfortunately, we just couldn't get it under 10. I think it got to 13, or maybe 12. I don't know. What's that?
It got to 11.
11, and we just couldn't take that next turn, unfortunately. But I do think there's a lot to build on. Obviously, defensively, we got to get a whole lot better. 96 points is plenty to win games, and you can't give up 110. And they're a tremendous offensive team. They got weapons. Their spacing's incredible because of the number of shooters they have. And when you got a player like Money that can go inside and out, and really the same thing. And Frederickson, number 34, they pose a lot of challenges to any defense. But we got to be a lot better than what we were tonight moving forward. God willing, we'll be better when we play on Saturday.
There's a lot of what you can control scenarios tonight, especially guarding beyond the perimeter. I mean, it feels like you did your best efforts of putting a hand in their face, and they still just knock them down. I mean, it just seems like it's something that's just in their genes right now.
They do a really good job moving the ball. I mean, the other part with Jackson Money, number 4, is he leads them in assists. So earlier in the year, he's being doubled in the post, which you can understand why, but a lot of the doubles turn into kick-out threes. So what we had decided was, all right, look, we're going to live with 2s and try to minimize the 3s. Well, we didn't do a really good job minimizing the 3s, but it wasn't because of him posting up and kicking out. I think in the first half it happened, and it was a blown coverage. But we wanted to try to stay out as much as possible, depending on who was on the floor. But the majority of the time they have I want to say at least 4 players that shoot 40% or higher from 3. So obviously when the floor is open like that, it's not just giving somebody an opportunity to play in the post. It's wider driving lanes for them to play into. One thing I know we got to get better at is staying in front of the ball much more consistently than what we did tonight. We had too many straight line drives that we gave up. And, the other part is finishing possessions. I don't know how many shots they made at the end of the shot clock. It felt like a decent number. I don't know, maybe it was 3, but it felt like much more than that because you're fighting to get one more run. And the other part of finishing possessions obviously is rebounding the ball. I know when we went zone, we gave up either 2 or 3 offensive rebounds on one possession, which is easier for that to happen in zone. But I thought, hey, we got some shots that we wanted and we didn't rebound the ball. So we got to figure out a way to finish much better than what we have been.
What was the locker room like afterwards? I mean, what do you say to guys whenever you, like you said, scored 97 points and still lose a ball game?
Yeah, I told them, the main thing is understanding what it takes to win, right? So getting better isn't enough, right? The object is to win. But what I don't want is for the group in the locker room to have their heads down 2 games into conference and thinking that we're not capable. And that's not where they're at. So that, again, to me, watching those guys continue to fight says a lot about the group that we have. And that's what the locker room was like. Like, I give them time before we go in as a staff. And then I always ask them, what do you think? Because I think it's important for us as coaches to have an awareness of what are they saying. And we're blessed to have a great group of young men that will communicate with us. So they shared some things that they talked about, and I said, I want to make sure we're on the same page. And the main thing is defensively, we can't continue at this rate. we've got to fix some things that are definitely within our control. There's areas that we have to be better at, and we're capable of doing those things. We just have to be more consistent, because in spurts, we do those things. And I don't know if it's more fatigue. I don't know if it's some matchups that need to change that we need to be better at. But I think a lot of it is just digging in, when it gets harder, and be more consistent. Because fatigue does take things away from you. My old college coach used to say, I'm sure a lot of coaches did, fatigue makes cowards of us all, right? And he was talking about the effort that you make when you get tired. And I think that's something they're going to continue to learn, right? Like, it's exhausting to get down and then to fight your way back, right? And then to feel like, hey, we're right there. Like we told them in a timeout, hey, we're one run away from being exactly where we need to be. And, but it takes a lot out of you to make that run. So, again, the main thing is keeping their heads up and making sure that they understand we just got to take another step forward and focusing on one or two things, right? We can't, in my opinion, give them a grocery list and then expect to advance. And that's the goal, is to advance every day. So, hey, what are one or two things on offense that we can do? What are one or two things on defense we can do? And try to make them directly applicable to playing North Dakota on Saturday. That's it. But they were good. Again, I'm thankful for the young men we have in the locker room. They're not happy, obviously, that we lost. But I call these guys all the time. And, the blessing is there's some guys I know are going to be incredible truth tellers, and they'll tell you exactly what's on their mind. And I'm thankful for that too. And I ask them, hey, what's the team like? Where are we? Hey, Coach, you know what? We're good. Like, this group still believes that we can get done what our goal is. And I'm like, all right, that's what matters. So anyway, I'd be lying if I said they were in great spirits. That wouldn't be true. But are they in a place where they believe that this team is still a good basketball team? Yes, they most definitely are.
Last question for me. It just seems like you would get on. It seems like there was a lot of fouls committed in this game.
Yeah, I got to be careful.
Just having to battle something like that too. The refs, 3 techs in the first half, and then all these moving screens. Just trying to battle through that also, while also being in a 20-point deficit, and then coming back and being 11. I mean, the tenacity of this team, at least trying to battle against the refs as well tonight.
Well, I'll take the high road. I know we have fouled too much. That's something that we emphasize in practice. And like one kid the other day got frustrated because I blew the whistle and called a foul. And he didn't think it was a foul, which wasn't a good decision on his part. And I explained later on, called him, and I said, listen, I want you to understand something. In the moment, I don't have time to explain everything I'm doing. But the truth is we're fouling too much. So if I see you in a position where I think it's close to a foul and it's in an area where we have been consistently fouling, I'm going to blow the whistle. But it's to make us better. I don't care if the white jersey team beats the blue jersey team in practice. I care about winning when we play another team. And then he really understood. But the benefit was he's competitive. And in that moment, he was thinking, oh, man, you're keeping us from having an opportunity to win. But, we have been fouling too much. But part of it gets back to closing out with your feet ready to fight to drive, instead of thinking, hey, I arrived with a high hand and my job is over. You're going to play against players that are really good shooters but can also put it on the deck and make plays happen. And we've got to get better in those situations. We've got to get better at showing our hands. We say show your length and fight with your chest. And there's too many times where our hands are going to bodies. And that's going to be an automatic call. So again, back to what you said earlier in terms of control, what you can control. I can't control anything, but how do we learn? Like I'll go back and break down how did we foul, right? So, how many illegal screens where we said, what was it? Was it a handoff? Was it a ball screen? Who was involved? Was the guard leaving too early? Did we not give him one step? Did we lean in? So then when I meet with the players individually, again, God willing, we're chipping away at eliminating some things. Because if you keep fouling, obviously, we got teams in the bonus with 9 minutes left in the first half. You're trying to prevent them from getting to the free throw line unless they're fouled in the act of shooting. Really the perfect world is not in the half, but at least not until the final 4 minutes of the half. So we got to figure out a way to do that. That's the best answer I can.
What was the explanation of Isaac's tech?
He said something that he shouldn't have said. And I just told him, Mackey was like, man, I said that is going to be an automatic, tech. So he didn't say anything to the referee. He didn't say anything disrespectful. He just said something that what's that?
The taunting call.
Yeah, I mean, he did something he shouldn't have done, but it was, once they told me what happened, because I just asked, because I was surprised. Like, if he had said something to a player, I understand players talk back and forth, and that's really what happened. He said something to a player, and the referees aren't going to watch that or listen to that, because then it can escalate. So it wasn't anything abnormal. It was one guy saying something to another guy, and a ref making sure it didn't go any further.
Last one. McBride obviously put on a masterclass performance. 44 points was the most by second most by a D1 player this year. It was also the first 40-point game by a Golden Eagle in nearly 4 years since Max Asmus. How does it feel to have your preseason player of the year kind of peaking and trending in the right direction, and it's only the second game of conference play?
I was talking to Mackie before, and it's interesting because we're having a storm, right? So I've told him in the past, I don't know if it was a year ago, it might have been 2 years ago, Mackie's his own harshest critic. He's harder on himself than any of us can be. So if he makes 9 threes in a row and misses the 10th three, he's focused on the one that he missed, right? So it can help him, but it also can hurt him. So he was going through a stretch where he wasn't making shots at the level you would expect him to make it. And at the same time, in the NBA, Steph Curry was going through a stretch where he wasn't making shots at the clip you would expect him. But I read something. Steph Curry literally would tell himself after every miss, the next one's going in. So I talked to Mackie about that, but then back to storms. I said, are you familiar with hurricanes? And he kind of looked at me crazy, and I said, hurricanes are evaluated on a scale of 1 to 5, right? 1 is the weakest, 5 is the strongest. So when you miss a shot, you have to start thinking a storm is brewing. If you miss another shot, it just went from a Cat 1 to a Cat 2. It's going to get stronger. The law averages are going to be in your favor. If you miss a third one, then it's going to be another one. And then earlier today, I said, hey, man, it's about time for a Cat 5. Somebody needs to catch a Cat 5. And he's like, Coach, it's coming. So I might have to tell him before every game, hey, man, we need a Cat 5. Maybe that's what it takes. But I just, again, he is a relentless worker. And the fact, I guarantee you, despite me telling those guys, don't work out tomorrow, get off your feet until we get in the gym, get sleep and get rest, he will be in the gym tomorrow morning because that's who he is. He could have scored 64 tonight. And I'd be willing to bet you he's back in that gym tomorrow morning. And that's just how he's wired. And I think the other part of that is, and we talk to guys about this, when you believe in yourself and trust your work, great things can happen for you. And the main thing with him is not over-analyzing, because he can be so critical of himself. But again, God willing, we'll have another Cat 5 from Miles McBride on Saturday.